on this episode of the Sorority Chat podcast.
Well, first of all, I think that you have to set your pride aside, be able to put yourself out there and not worry about what your friends are going to think. And I think that also goes along with being, in my 40s. I'm part of the We Do Not Care Club. You're writing your own rule book. There are no rule books for this job. That excites me because I can do anything with this.
Hey y'all, and welcome to Sorority Chat. I'm Liz Toombs, a designer and sorority alum who's obsessed with all things Greek life. My mission? To bring you real conversations, smart insights, and fun stories that help make sorority living even better. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfy, and let's chat. Hey sorority chatters, welcome back. Today's guest is Meghan Rosenthal, and she is someone who made a bold leap from side hustle into a full-blown creative career, and she did it all around a life full of family, passions, and everything in between. I first found Meghan on Instagram. She is from North Carolina, and after studying journalism at UNC Chapel Hill, where she took studio art classes, led her Tri Sigma chapter, she headed into public relations and digital marketing. But in 2021, she did something that a lot of us dream about. She picked up a paintbrush, posted a few acrylic canvases on Instagram, and the next thing you knew, she had launched a career. Welcome, Meghan.
Hi, how are you?
I am great. I'm excited to talk with you because I love your artwork. Your vibe is always so fun online, and so I'm just excited to share you with our listeners.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I love talking about anything sorority related or art related and just interiors in general.
Yes. So if they are watching on YouTube, they can see behind you, you have some of your artwork on display, as well as one of your composites from your Tri Sigma days. You want to tell that story?
Yes. So I was a Tri Sigma at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I graduated in 2004. Very long time ago. And I was active in the sorority throughout as an alum throughout the years. And then in, I want to say 2021, they closed down. And, we had this gorgeous 1800s home that was huge, that was on Franklin Street, which is the main street in Chapel Hill. And it was gorgeous. And we had about 20 of these in the house. And they basically were going to throw them all away. So I rescued them with another woman who lives in Chapel Hill. And it took me about a year, but I offloaded most of them except 3. And I kept the 3 from my years. I keep trying to give them away to people, but this one's going to be permanent. This was my senior year. So it's pretty special to me. But I have one in my garage and one in my hallway. And every time a sorority sister comes over, I try to give it away.
I think it's fun.
I want them to be saved, and they're great. It's a conversation piece. So,
yeah, it is. And it looks like where you have it hanging there with the built-ins above the sofa, it just looks like that spot was made to house that composite for you.
It actually, I built the bookcases around it.
Okay, then it literally was made for it.
It literally was made for it, yes, yeah. These bookcases, actually, there's an interesting story about them. We had just moved into our home and we were doing renovations and we didn't have a budget for original art. And so I knew that if I wanted to add the bookcases to our new home renovations, I would, number one, have to paint art to fill my walls, because we were not spending money on original art. And I would have to figure out a way, like I wanted to pay for this bookcase, the building of these, because I love them so much. And it was just sort of like an add-on project that didn't make sense at the time. So I started painting paintings and for my home. And I painted so many that my friends and my mom were like, you should try to sell some of these. So then it kind of linked up in my head. And I was like, well, maybe I could pay for the bookcases, and this maybe if I just sell, enough to, cover these, I can feel really proud of myself because I was a stay-at-home parent at the time. And, I was busy doing virtual school, because of the pandemic. And, I felt kind of like I needed something for myself. So I started it, and it kind of just blew up overnight, which was great. And I paid for the bookcases, and it actually went into a real business.
I love that story. Sometimes that's what it takes, is the unexpected, and you think it's just going to be this small one-off, and then it takes on a life of its own.
It does. It does. It's completely, so I loved designing the bookcases with, my carpenter, and then designing them around my composite. And, this is a very special room to our family.
Yeah, I love it. It like encompasses your origin story in such a unique way. And just like you said, it's all conversation starters at that point, because you have a really interesting story to tell about all of those pieces.
I do, yes. And people come over and they actually know a lot of the women on the composite, and they're like, "Oh, I dated her," or "She was my friend's cousin," And so it's really fun. It's really fun to just stand there and talk about it with people.
Yeah, I'm sure. So you said that the artwork sort of blew up overnight. So you got the built-ins paid for, but then what happened next? Was it like, oh, okay, this is viable, I want to keep going? Or what led you to continue?
Yes. Well, at that point in time, I was just painting a painting and then putting it on Instagram. And gosh, I maybe had 400 followers at the time. It was mostly friends and family, and then just a few strangers. And every time I would post a painting, it would sell within minutes. And I kept painting and I kept posting, and it just happened every single time. And obviously, my prices were very low at the time. So, people were getting really good deals. But it gave me the idea of the fact that wow, it's I'm using all of this knowledge from, my mom being a professional artist and selling her work. And, here I am selling my work via Instagram. It was an idea that I just sort of ran with. And before I knew it, I was planning a full collection, because I noticed that these one-off sales really weren't working. I mean, they were working, but it was just a lot of, it's not the way I wanted to work as an artist. So then I decided to release collections. So I would pick a theme. I love pop culture, all things pop culture. And I would pick a theme, and my first theme was 90s, just 90s music in general. And so I was just we're just going to go with 90s. And so I painted a collection of paintings in, similar, different colors, similar style. And I would say it's very similar to what I paint now. So I painted organic shapes with white space and gold borders inside, around some of the shapes. And I framed them all in gold. And at that point in time, I was it was really fly by the seat of my pants. So my dining room was actually a very dark gray. And I was it was the morning of the release. And I was actually photographing all the paintings on the morning of the release, and which is hilarious. And and I was like, what if I had a white wall? So I got out some old paint and I painted my one dining room wall white. And it was still wet when I started hanging the paintings on there to photograph. And it somehow worked. And that became my first collection. And I think that put me on the map as far as how I would work and release work from then on. And I did probably did 10 collections that first year, and they all sold within minutes.
Wow.
Pretty cool. So
that is very cool. I remember you shared that story about the white dining room wall in the trend of unhinged things you did when starting your business.
One of the many unhinged things I did.
Right. But I love that trend, because I just learned the grit behind everybody's business and their brand and what we all did to get started. Because you and I are a similar age. So I graduated in '05, and I do not think that we are old. We are very young still.
I still feel very young. I feel 23.
Yes. Yeah. So when you said the 90s collection, I was like, girl, you were speaking my language. Like, we are each other's people here.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so I think those quote unhinged things are so cool because you just do whatever it takes when you get started, and you just put it out there and roll with it.
Absolutely. Yes. And, I had a white wall, and I had a collection of paintings, and then I had to figure out how to ship them. And it was all, you do what you have to, and you have a goal, and you're going to meet your goal, and you're going to do it anyway. And you're writing your own rule book. There are no rule books for this job. And I'm sure for your job, when you're in such a niche, it's like your job is what you make it. And, you're in charge of your own day and your own, workflow. That excites me because, I'm thinking, well, I can do anything with this, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It can be exciting. And then on some days, it's all mindset based.
Very overwhelming too.
And be like, oh my gosh, the world's my oyster. I'm paralyzed because I don't know how to take the next step. What does it need to be? So sometimes you want some rules and guidelines, and other times you're like, no.
Yes, very, very true. Yes, deadlines are huge for me. I actually have ADHD, so I work via deadline, and I work last minute via deadline. So I'm most creative when I have that looming.
Yeah, that makes sense. You have something, kind of a drop dead date, that end piece to work towards. So, I mean, if you know what works for you, then that's great, right? That's how you thrive.
Yes.
You were talking about doing homeschooling and online schooling during the pandemic and getting this painting off the ground. How do you, or have you balanced that? Raising children, building a business, how does all of that? I don't think that there is really true balance, but how does it all harmonize, I guess?
Right. The first year I was launching my business, my husband, he really stepped up. He did all the school pickups. He let me paint. I would paint until dinner. I would paint after dinner. I would paint at nighttime after the kids went to bed. I worked. Nobody at school knew my name because we were in a new school too. We had just moved to Chapel Hill, and so I did all of this work the first year. I had no life, very little life, because I painted all the time and I worked all the time and I figured things out. And then I fine-tuned it, so the next year I felt like I had put all of these processes into, like the shipping, like I do this for shipping and I do this, this is my calendar for my releases and this is when I start marketing them. And so I feel like the first year I had no balance at all. And I feel like, in hindsight, the mom guilt comes in and I'm like, it's kind of feel bad, that I was just like MIA. But I've really done a great job since then. I stop working when the kids get out of school. I go pick them up from school and I maybe pick up a paintbrush or do some marketing after dinner and, or while they're at their after school activities. And, I've just figured out how to, make the most of the time that I have. And, it's easy for me to put down the phone and be a mom and then pick it back up later. So.
Yeah, that's good. I love that because I think you create a business to support your life and your lifestyle and what you want. You shouldn't have to be a slave to it just because you're a small business owner and, a creative entrepreneur. And I would say you're probably selling yourself short with the mom guilt. Like, think of what your children witnessed from you, like what you're creating and what they're learning that they may not even realize yet that they'll stick with them.
It's very true. I mean, they watched me build a business from nothing, basically. And my daughter was in kindergarten and my son was in the third grade. And it's kind of cool to think that my daughter probably doesn't even remember when I was not an artist, which is pretty cool. She knows me as an entrepreneur and, and my husband's an entrepreneur as well. So we both work from home and we both own small businesses. And it really, it shows our kids that you can kind of do anything you want, within reason.
No, I mean, I love that because I'm a big dreamer and you can make your life what you want it to be. And you're saying that both of you are examples of that. And so I just think there's so much value in that for your children and the people around you.
Absolutely. Yes. I guess it's like since the beginning, and I do have the mom guilt, but I think we all do. I think there's like, if you don't have it, it's like, maybe it's good to be self-aware, you know?
That's true. And I'm not a mom, but I read something from a mom friend the other day that was saying you have the mom guilt because you're a good mom, right? Because you are in tune and tapped in. And so, that should be a positive sign for you.
That's what my friends say.
Well, so speaking of moms, you mentioned earlier your mom is also a professional artist. And so it sounds like maybe you've taken two different avenues in how you market and sell your products, but how has her experience informed the way that you do things? And has it been a helpful support system to have witnessed the way that she did it?
Yeah, I grew up with her. We had an art studio in our home. It was filled with like every single medium you could possibly ever want to create anything. And then I took art classes like people, go play soccer.
Sure.
It was definitely it was like the thing that I did. So I grew up very creative, and she basically instilled in me how being creative and creating is just part of life. Beyond teaching me how to create art and to use all of the mediums and just be creative and express my emotions and my feelings through art. My mom also taught me to, if you're going to start a project, you do it well and you finish it and you do it, she had very high standards. And so these days I take that into my profession right now when, I might be painting a painting and I might think it's done. And I'm just thinking, and I come back to it and I'm like, it's not my best work. It really could be better. And so I feel like I've taken that, her teachings of, if you're going to do it, you need to do it well. And so every single painting that I make and sell is something that I would hang in my home. I love. There are paintings sitting in my studio that I do not love at all, and they're just sitting there because I know that I'll go back to them and I will make them what I want, and then I will sell them. I will feel comfortable selling them. But I basically I just strive to make every single painting the best painting I've ever made, and so that helps me right now, and so I feel confident in my work, and I feel confident with, when people purchase art from me, and 95% of my business is pretty much online. So people don't see the paintings in person before they purchase. And at first that was kind of scary, because I would worry, what if my pictures, weren't, didn't represent what the paintings look like in reality. And so I do take a lot of time to edit the photos and to get the colors just right. And, that's a big process for me. And so I had to just sort of I would just sell the paintings and people would love them. And they're like, oh, they look even better in person. And I'm just like, yay. So it was a relief to know that people would receive the paintings that they bought online from a random woman in North Carolina, and they really enjoyed them and they liked them. So
yeah, that has to make you feel rewarded and fulfilling to know that what you were setting out to achieve is what they're experiencing.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So I feel very confident in my work.
Well, that's good. So you've said that a couple of times, and I'm curious, as an entrepreneur or an artist or in any part of the business building, do you ever have moments of not feeling confident? I know that I have some of those moments. And I just think it's, while we don't love to talk about them, it's also nice to hear from others like, oh yeah, this is where I can kind of get down on myself, or I need a little boost. So do you have anything like that?
Yes. Well, I'm pretty bad at shipping. I'm not the actual shipping of the paintings, but actually making myself do it. I quote people 3 weeks, and it's literally like 2 weeks and 6 days. But I'm bringing out the boxes and the bubble wrap, and I put that off, and I tell myself every release I'm going to do it quicker and sooner. And so I am really bad at shipping, and I think anybody would tell you that. But I do get them there, and I've only had one painting basically run over by a truck. Out of all the paintings I've sold over the years, knock on wood.
Oh my, yeah.
I know, right? And so, yeah, I would say that also. I mean, I think imposter syndrome is part of any job. I mean, I think doctors and lawyers, I think everybody has imposter syndrome every once in a while. I think it creeps in when maybe I'm really struggling, I have like the equivalent of writer's block or painter's block, and, nothing I'm doing looks great, or I'm tired, or, I don't feel like painting. And, let's say I've announced a release, and I have 2 paintings out of like maybe 6 or so that I need to paint, and I don't want to paint, and it's just like, oh, I don't want to do this. So I think that, I think it's hard, and then also I would say imposter syndrome comes in when I've applied to a few shows, and I'm like stepping out on a ledge that I haven't been on before with my art. Maybe I'm trying something new. Maybe I'm launching a new product, and I don't know how it's going to be received. And so I think that it's, the doubt creeps in, and I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go, so, but I think that I just have to, keep putting myself out there and keep trying new things. And it's really helped along. I mean, it's most everything I've done has been pretty good. So,
yeah. I mean, I agree. Imposter syndrome can just get you sometimes,
it can. Absolutely.
If you're not careful. And it usually does come, like you said, when trying something new and like stepping out of your comfort zone. And I don't know how this will go. And I just always have to figure out how to bring myself back to, I've made it this far. My clients, my people like me. And so it's just, how can I keep being me as I go forward? I don't have to be somebody else, because that's when I get tripped up with the imposter syndrome.
It's so true. Absolutely. I completely agree with that. Yes.
And online is hard about that. It's like, yes, this is great because it opens up an entire world of clients for me. But then also I'm out there looking at what's out there, and then you start comparing, and that just is the wrong method.
Oh, gosh, I know. Comparison is the thief of joy. I know. I know. I get it too, though. I mean, there are so many great artists on Instagram. I mean, it's like so many talented, men and women, and they're doing all these great shows, and, they're putting out these gorgeous collections, and, or they're collaborating with people. And, it's like, I look at that and I'm just like, oh, I would love to do that, or something like that one day. And so, yeah. I mean, it's easy to get sucked into comparing yourself to people in your space, especially online, where everybody puts their best foot forward. And, I think that I try to balance being a little bit authentic, and then, the posed kind of shoots. And I think it's hard. I think it's all hard.
Yeah. I think so too. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. And I also remember that there is room for all of us, right? All these different industries. There's so many different types of fashion designers, different artists, different interior designers. And so it's like everyone has their space. So just be in that space and enjoy it.
I agree. I love it. I really do love it. I made a lot of friends, a lot of artist friends on Instagram, and interior designers, and everybody in the creative space. I've really enjoyed getting to know certain people. So
it's nice to have that supportive community, because when you are a solopreneur, you don't necessarily have sounding boards that are experiencing the same thing that you have within your company. And so you can go to others and kind of talk about those shared experiences. And I feel like I get a lot of value from that.
I do too. Yeah. I have women who have been doing what I've been doing now for 30 years. And, I had lunch with a neighborhood artist. She's a muralist, in my neighborhood yesterday. She's very successful. She's been doing this for like 30 years. And I love speaking with women who are more experienced than I am, and asking them, like, how did they do this? Or how did they, get over feeling doubtful about themselves, or like, and then they usually ask me about social media. So It's a trade-off.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody has things that they're great at, and we can all help and support each other.
I love it. I love
I'm
it.
an Enneagram 3, and so I'm the cheerleader. And so I love like cheering on others. But then it's so funny because then the imposter syndrome, then I kind of beat myself up and I'm like, oh, I need to cheerlead myself as much as I cheerlead them.
I think everybody is doing so well. And I'm always like, you're amazing. You're a rock star. Yeah. And then it's like, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, freaking out about like what I'm doing with my business. And I totally get it. Yeah. 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 And everyone's gorgeous and everyone's doing a wonderful job.
Absolutely. So you do collaborations with your releases and some licensed things now. So talk a little bit about that and how that came about.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. So my first licensing deal was when I did a planner. It was a planner company, and so they bought a painting, and then they made the planner the Meghan for women. It's sort of like a mom planner, a women's planner, and so my art was on the cover of that, and then my next big licensing was when a performance wear company based in Ohio called 70 Degrees contacted me via Instagram, and they said, we think that your art would look amazing on tennis clothing. And I was like, well, I think so too. Of course it would. Yeah. And I was like, what do you need? So the owner of the company, it's a female-owned company, which I love collaborating with small businesses, especially women-owned businesses. And so we planned this painting that I did, and I painted it and I mailed it to her, and she put it on her line of tennis clothing. Her 70 Degrees specializes in equestrian clothing, active wear that can be worn, when you're showing and riding horses. And so my tennis line was her sort of like, trying out tennis clothes. And so it was really fun to watch the design process because I really didn't know much about, fashion design. And,
sure.
And so I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how clothes are made and the schedules and everything. And so the collaboration launched and it's been super successful. And, I love it when people send me pictures. They see someone on a tennis court wearing my clothes and I'm just like, that's me, or that's my work. So it's pretty cool.
That is so cool. So I know that you were a tennis player. You're a pickleballer now. Do you don your clothes all the time when you're playing?
I do.
You should.
I do. Yes, I do. And it's fun. It's fun because a lot of my friends play tennis. And so I'll show up at school pickup in my skirt and then like 2 other women will be wearing theirs. And so we look like we're on the same tennis team and it's just really fun. So I do. I basically just wear tennis clothes, unless I'm like, doing something for work or going out to dinner or on a date. So I love wearing them. Yeah, it's great. It's fun. It's fun.
Oh, yeah. I think you should start, if y'all are all going to end up matching, just on Wednesdays, we wear Meghan Rosenthal skirts.
I know. Oh, that's such a great idea. I love that. Oh, I'll propose that. Absolutely.
Yes. And if they're wearing them that much, it sounds like it's time to come out with a new one, a new pattern and color.
I know. I'm thinking blue and white. I think that would be really fun.
Absolutely. Although mine is not for the Tar Heels. Mine is for the Kentucky Wildcats, but I'm a blue and white girl.
Oh, yes. Well, I mean, I think all blue and white is perfect.
Oh, I agree. If you could see my house, like it's all different shades of everything. Like my pantry, I painted like a powder blue, like a Tar Heel blue. And then I've got navies and cobalts and you can tell I'm really into blue around here.
I love it. I'm painting a blue and white collection right now.
Oh, good to know.
So I'm the artist in residence at the Carolina Inn, which is a historic hotel here in Chapel Hill. And I basically painted a bunch of paintings. I painted 12 paintings, and my residency started mid-September. And by the third or fourth day, 10 of the 12 paintings had sold just from people walking in.
Wow.
And so I really enjoyed that because, I sell most of my paintings online. So the fact that people are seeking out my work at this public location and they're going and buying them in person, it felt really good because, it's always good to try new things.
Absolutely. It's a new level of validation too. It's like, okay, well, I'm used to selling in this way, but now it also appeals in this way. And so what new doors does that open for me painting and selling?
Absolutely. Yes. So I feel very proud of myself that it's taken off, and I'm painting more paintings now. So I just ordered more blue paint to paint more to fill the empty spaces.
Never get enough. All the blue. All the blue.
Yes.
Well, for almost 5 years now, you've had some really great achievements and milestones. So what's on the horizon? What's next for you?
Well, I just got a really big commission. It's the biggest commission I've ever gotten. I actually don't really do commissions.
Okay.
They stress me out. And, but I had a very, well-known company call me recently and that I can't name quite yet. And they opted for the largest painting I've ever painted. And, it was pretty cool. It was a win. It was a win, and I just felt like, wow, it's like my work is going to hang in this famous store, and I can't wait to paint it and see it in the store and everything. So,
well, that is awesome. I'm excited for when you can share about it and talk more.
I can't wait.
That's awesome. Well, Meghan, do you have any advice that you would give folks as they are venturing into creative businesses or opportunities?
I would say, well, first of all, I think that you have to set your pride aside. Like, it's easy to think, to doubt what people are going to think of you. So let's say you start a business online on Instagram and you're selling something or you're launching a service, and you basically need to be able to put yourself out there and not worry about what your friends are going to think. And so I know that some people might feel cringy making videos. I don't personally do a lot of video. I feel more comfortable photographing and, making occasional reels. But, you kind of have to have a lot of confidence in what you're going to put out there and have confidence in your product and not really worry about what people think. And I think that also goes along with being, in my 40s. I think that I kind of left that behind. I'm not really, I'm part of the We Do Not Care club. It's basically just not caring, what people, if people are judging me or I don't know. I mean, it's easy to let the doubt creep in, like we talked about before. But I think that you have to have confidence in your product and in yourself to get out there and make your business what you want it to be.
Yeah, I agree. And social media is just its own beast. And so I know that I didn't like doing videos for a while. And then I was like, I'm just going to try. And so I started.
You're really good at them.
Oh, well, you're very kind. You're very kind. But yeah, I just sort of said, okay, let's attack this. And the more that I'm doing it now, I'm like, well, I don't care. The other day I showed up on stories with like no makeup on. And I was like, who is this person? Because she is not who I was a year ago or 6 months ago.
Oh my gosh. I love hearing that because that is something that I need to do more of. I have a friend who owns a clothing store and she gets on stories every day and she talks and she tries on clothes. And I'm like, how do you do this? And she's like, you just do it. You get used to it.
Yeah, it literally is. I think it was like a mastermind group. I'm in this group with other designers. And I think we had sort of this challenge where it was like 15 days or something, like post every single day or do a video every day. So I think if you give yourself that deadline, you talk about you thrive in deadlines, do something like that. And so I get a lot of inspiration from what other folks are posting. And then I also follow accounts that suggest real ideas and trend ideas. So then you can pull what resonates with you and then post those every day. And then by the time you're done, you're like, this is old hat. Like, it's no big deal. There's no doing 5 takes. It's just like, this is real life. This is what happens. Oh, the dog barked. You like him. There you go.
I love that. That's very inspirational to me because that is something that I do kind of feel, not so confident about.
Mm-hmm. What I do love about, you said you do a lot of photography. You are always smiling. There is always a big smile on your face in your photos. And it resonates that you clearly love what you're doing and you're very excited to be talking about it. And that comes through even in your photos.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's, I think that I had a friend, an artist friend once, that she actually kind of changed her look in her photos. She went from big smiles and being happy to being kind of like, she felt like her art wasn't, like she felt like she was going to like take herself down a few notches, and like that's the way she was going to present herself with her art. But I feel like my art makes people happy, and it makes me happy painting it. So I feel like I might as well just show who I am, and I'm a generally very happy, smiley person, very positive. And so it's just, that's me.
Yeah, the authenticity shines through. So I say keep it up.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You are welcome. Well, Meghan, if people want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Instagram. Yeah, that's the best. And my website, meghanrosenthal.com, is great too.
Okay. And is your handle on Instagram Meghan Rosenthal?
It is meghan.rosenthal.art.
Okay, perfect. We'll put all of it in the show notes so that people can connect with you. But thank you so much for coming on and talking with me about your story. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
Welcome to Liz's House Hot Takes. This is where I take the lessons I've learned over the last 16 years of designing Greek houses and offer you my pro tips. Here's today's house hot take. Budget plus timeline equals BFFs. Your budget doesn't just control what you buy, it also affects how long it takes. Custom furniture and high-quality finishes require more lead time than big box finds. So if you're aiming for something fast, know that it may not last. If you want timeless and durable, plan for a longer schedule. Balancing budget and time is the secret sauce to a project that does not feel chaotic. Thanks for listening to another House Hot Take. For more inspiration, check out the PDR Interiors Instagram or TikTok. I'm Liz Toombs, and this is the Sorority Chat podcast. Catch you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're listening on a podcast platform, make sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you got something out of today's conversation, we'd love for you to leave us a 5-star review. It helps us reach more listeners just like you. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to check out this video right here or this one over here. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us out. On that note, I'm Liz Toombs with Sorority Chat, and I'll see you on the next one. This podcast is produced by Collier Landry for Don't Touch My Radio. Copyright Liz Toombs.